Look at the typical Silicon Valley origin story, and you usually find a garage in Palo Alto. Andrew Dudum's path started somewhere else entirely, in the working-class immigrant neighborhoods of San Francisco. He grew up surrounded by a tight-knit community of Palestinian-American refugees. His friends and family were running laundromats and liquor stores. In that environment, waiting for an invitation to build a business is not an option. Creating something from nothing was simply the baseline expectation. But his first serious pursuit had nothing to do with startups. As a kid, he wanted to be a rock star. His mother, employing a bit of strategic parenting, handed him a cello, promising he could eventually flip it sideways and play it like a guitar. He never made that flip, but he did spend years touring Europe and playing at Carnegie Hall. Mastering classical cello requires hours of isolated, repetitive practice. You have to be comfortable with the grind. That exact stamina would become his primary survival tool as an entrepreneur. Eventually, Dudum crossed the country to attend the Wharton School, enrolling in management and economics. Sitting in lectures quickly lost its appeal. He started walking across campus to the engineering school, using fresh pizza to bribe software developers into building out his personal project ideas. While his classmates were memorizing corporate finance theory, he was executing. He launched a micro-lending platform aimed at the Middle East, and then took a complete sabbatical from school to join a video startup called TalkBox, staying right up through its acquisition. By the time his formal education was supposed to be wrapping up, he had already figured out the real mechanism of venture building. Identifying talent and orchestrating teams yielded far higher returns than any textbook curriculum. In 2013, he took that blueprint and co-founded Atomic Labs, with a few friends from his Wharton days. They quickly secured capital from some of the heaviest hitters in tech, including Peter Thiel and Marc Andreessen. But Atomic wasn't a standard venture fund throwing checks at outside founders. It was a studio. They built companies entirely from scratch, using internal capital to hire the teams and guide the growth. To find a viable business, Atomic forced 20 concepts through a testing pipeline. Their rule? Before you build it, prove it. Waitlists and coming soon pages compressed a year of research into 1 week of hard data. Dudum learned to strip the emotion out of ideas. He only committed resources when the consumer demand was mathematically proven. That cold, data-driven logic collided with real life during a family dinner. Dudum's sister cornered him between courses. She pointed out his ashy, wrinkled skin, and to force him to do something about it, she dropped $300 on a pile of premium women's cosmetics. He looked at the bottles and realized the blind spot in the market. Most guys are never going to spend hundreds of dollars on women's beauty brands, but navigating the traditional medical system for acne, hair loss, or erectile dysfunction is incredibly awkward. He took this highly sensitive demographic problem straight back to Atomic Labs and fed it into their iteration machine. People were actively avoiding doctors out of shame. He realized that social stigma and male embarrassment were acting as massive, unmonetized inefficiencies in the healthcare market. To actually capture that market, he needed to build a brand that people trusted. That's where co-founder Hilary Coles came in. Through long, late-night text chains, they hammered out a voice for the company. They stripped away the sterile medical jargon and used blunt, empathetic humor to talk to men like normal adults. Then Coles hit the road. She flew to the Midwest, sitting down with deeply skeptical pharmaceutical manufacturers to convince them to produce generic minoxidil for an untested millennial startup. Once they secured the supply chain, they wrapped the treatments in clean, pastel packaging, deployed their direct-to-consumer ads, and launched. The demand was immediate. They cleared $1 million in sales in their first week, scaling aggressively until merging into a multi-billion-dollar public offering on the New York Stock Exchange in 2021. In 3 years, they facilitated over 2 million medical visits. Hims&Hers reached that scale because Dudum and Coles took the ruthless, rapid iteration science of software development and applied it directly to the most awkward, emotional friction points in human healthcare.